So in case you haven't noticed, or if this is your first time on the channel, I stand with fandoms first and foremost. Because I myself am a fan of many things. And I know what it feels like to have my concerns or criticisms brushed aside by people in Hollywood. Mostly because their egos are so big that they typically can't admit when they are wrong. But if we're being honest, they really don't even have to admit that they are wrong. If they just acknowledged the concerns of fandom, that would go a long way. Hollywood has a lot to learn, and if they were smart, they would approach these conversations like Chris Pratt did recently in regards to the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Let's discuss.
I watch so you don't have to.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
I think that, in all honesty, the answer, though, is that this is a passionate fan base, and it makes sense. Like, I understand, I'm part of it. And you don't want someone to come along and cynically kind of destroy it as a cash grab with the movie. I fully understand that. You do not want that to happen.
Too often recently, diehard fans have had their concerns ignored in regards to the future of the franchises that they love. Sometimes, certain people would even label these critical fans as toxic.
Me, right?
Rather than taking the time to understand what their issue is. Because if someone in Hollywood would take the time to listen, it's quite possible that that would go a long way towards creating better content. Content that is intended to continue these established franchises. We saw this happen with Sonic just a few years ago. Fans were concerned about his design in the movie. The studio heard those concerns and made a drastic change. And you know what? The movie was probably better off for it.
That makes sense.
Unfortunately, that situation was the outlier in Hollywood and not the trend. Because as we've seen with many other popular franchises, when criticisms are brought up and they are typically met with the, well, if you don't like it, don't watch it approach. Which is an interesting response if the goal is in fact to sell more movie tickets.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them.
But finally, we have yet another example of someone in Hollywood acknowledging fan concerns and addressing them in the most level-headed way possible. In response to fan concern over his Mario voice in the new Super Mario Bros. Movie, Chris Pratt responded in an interview and said simply to just come watch the movie. The exact opposite of the normal response we get to these type of questions. By saying watch the movie, give it a chance, and it will all make sense when you do. That type of thing gives fans a bit more reason to be optimistic.
Goddamn right, that's the only way I work, Cap.
But he didn't stop there, he actually took it a step further, saying that he understands that this is a passionate fan base, and it makes sense for people to be concerned. Imagine that. He even says that he himself is a part of that fan base. Again, he's basically trying to form a connection with his audience. Chris Pratt must be some kind of marketing genius. No, he's just not your typical self-righteous, entitled Hollywood douchebag.
I knew it. I'm surrounded by assholes.
He understands how important Mario is to some people, and to their youth. You know when people say that their childhood has been ruined? He's literally addressing that directly. Now, I don't personally agree with the idea of you having your childhood ruined. My childhood was my childhood. It happened. I loved every minute of it, and it could never be taken away from me. No matter how much Hollywood tries to ruin my favorite things. Chris Pratt even says that fans don't want people to just come along and cynically ruin this thing that they love with cash grabs, which we all know is an everyday occurrence in modern cinema. To me, this whole response was Chris understanding the issues that typically plague these types of projects. And it sounds like most of the people involved did everything that they could to make sure that that doesn't happen for Super Mario Bros. Because I believe there are people in the industry who very intentionally want to take something that people love and ruin it.
Why are you the way that you are?
Most likely just for their personal amusement. What other explanation is there for it happening so often? Now I know what the trolls will say, well, your expectations are just too high as a diehard fan, and that we all should just be happy that we have a Mario movie. No, I'm not just going to be happy. Because to me, I'd rather them not make a Mario movie at all if they don't take the responsibility of doing so seriously.
Man, I'm tired of being right.
I want a company who has unlimited resources to take this thing that I love and give me the best experience possible with it. As a fan, why would you want a half-assed version of something you are passionate about? And if you are one of those idiots who thinks that you shouldn't ever give fans what they want, simply because it's cool to piss off fans, I guess, then you shouldn't be anywhere near making this movie or talking about it.
Anybody care about what I want?
I do.
Shut up. Get out.
Because clearly you don't get it, and you never will. Now everyone knows I love creative freedom for filmmakers. It's one of the things I'm very passionate about, and I think we need more of it in the movie making process. But when you decide to play in an established sandbox that has an established fan base, you have an obligation to do that thing justice. Period. Otherwise, just go make an original movie. And shout out to Chris Pratt for acknowledging that. Will his Mario voice be a home run? Only time will tell. But I will tell you this, I am more willing to give him and this movie a chance, simply because of how he responded to this question. It literally makes all the difference in the world. That's how it's done, Hollywood, so stop being so arrogant and maybe take some notes.
You can make a good decision when you try.
Now, unfortunately, not everyone involved in this movie understands the responsibility of making it in the way that Chris Pratt does. Because Donkey Kong voice actor, and I use that term loosely, Seth Rogen says Donkey Kong sounds just like him because, quote, I was very clear I don't do voices. Here's a question, why does it seem like everything that Seth Rogen touches turns to shit? If you don't want to do voices, then why were you hired for a voice acting job? And clearly you don't give a shit about properly portraying Donkey Kong, so why be involved? Oh, that's right, because you're another talentless Hollywood troll who just does things for money.
It's like people only do things because they get paid. And that's just really sad.
Thank you, Seth. Just as quickly as I was feeling somewhat optimistic about this movie, your idiotic response kind of stripped some of that optimism away. Not all of it. It's always good news, bad news when it comes to Hollywood. But if we are looking for a silver lining in this situation, it's that now we at least know that there are some people who still care about what they are doing as much as we care about seeing it done properly. And that's something that we can hang our hats on as members of any fandom, and hope and pray that one day this might become the norm. Because if so, movies and storytelling in general will be better off because of it.
Y'all be cool. Shut up.